Alright, what's up guys, and welcome to something a little different from me today. We're not looking at animation, even though that will come soon. We're actually going to do a tutorial, more specifically a tutorial on how to somewhat replicate the filter that Toei have been applying to Dragon Ball Super as of episode 77, the sort of line filter and the glow and all that crazy good stuff. I made a video just the other day actually. I uploaded it to my VidMe account where I took an episode from the Future Trunks arc and applied the method that I'm about to teach you to an episode, and it turned out okay. It wasn't perfect, obviously we don't have the master footage that Toei have, but it was alright, and the response was fairly positive, I guess. There were some people who really didn't like it, and that's fair enough. It wasn't perfect, but a large majority were okay with it, so I thought I would show you how to do it. I'm going to show you how to do it in Photoshop. Those of you who do know how to use After Effects will be able to very easily apply this to After Effects because obviously it's all Adobe software, all the filters are the same, the process is essentially the same, you're just doing it to video. So let's jump right in. I've got myself a nice little Goku pulling a funny face. This was from episode 18, and I think it works quite nicely with this process. So to start with, what you want to do is you want to take your background layer and duplicate it. What we're going to do to start with is essentially try to replicate the line thickening that they do in the show. Like I said, we don't have the masters, so we can't actually apply it solely to the line art itself, so we kind of have to fake it a little bit. So the way we do that is we go to Filter, Stylize, and Find Edges. At the moment you can see it's all colorful and it's all kind of aliased and it really doesn't look very good, so what we're going to do is we're first going to desaturate it. If you want to use keyboard shortcuts, it's Ctrl-Shift-U. If not, you can go to Image and Adjustments and Desaturate. It does the same thing. After that, make sure you have that layer selected, head up to Filter, go to Blur, and go to Gaussian Blur. Now we want to blur this a little bit. We don't want to go too much, otherwise you're going to end up with haloing all around your image, which you do not want. You only want a very subtle glow like that. So that'll probably do. Let's hit OK. I'm going to change the blending mode here to soft light. As you can see already, this has flattened the image down. You've now got a little border around everything, and the line art is ever so slightly thicker. It's kind of got that cell-like appearance that Toei have been going for. It's not perfect, it's only the very start, but it is a good starting point. So following this, we're going to want to add some of the glow that Toei have been a big fan of for this arc, especially on the Kaioshin realm, which is almost too much. And to be honest, this image takes place on Beerus's planet, which is especially glowy, so we can go a little bit over the top here. What you're going to want to do is select both the layers that you have, duplicate them. You can use Ctrl-J, or you can go to Layer and Duplicate Layers. After that, you're going to want to merge it, either Ctrl-E, or again by going to Layer and Merge Layers. We're going to do a little more Gaussian blurring. Again, Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and unlike last time where we had a subtle blur, we're going to turn this all the way up. Something like 6 will probably do. And we're going to set the blending mode to soft light. As you can see, everything's kind of a little bit more punchier, a little bit more glowy, kind of got that sort of dreamy look to it that you see in the show. So that's kind of the first steps done. Everything after this is pretty much just refinement and trying to get the colors and overall atmosphere looking like the show. So what I tend to do now is create an adjustment layer by heading to Hue and Saturation, turning it down ever so slightly, then creating another adjustment layer, this time going with brightness and contrast, because the show is very, very contrasty, almost to a fault. I tend to turn that up just a little bit. Maybe my saturation was perhaps a fraction too low. We can bring that up a little bit more. Something like that is probably good. If you want to take that even further, you can add a levels layer instead of brightness and contrast, or like I'm doing with brightness and contrast, and just bring the mids down. Maybe bring the black in a little bit, because they tend to crush the colors out quite a lot, and then bring the brightness up ever so slightly on the skin. So that's looking pretty good, honestly. Or at least pretty accurate, maybe not necessarily good, but accurate to what you've been seeing in Dragon Ball Super. From here, something that is also in the show that you don't really get to see in the stream because the bitrate is too low, they've actually added a fake layer of grain. So I'm going to show you my method for adding grain. It's pretty simple and I think it works really nicely. So what you're going to want to do is create a new layer, fill it with black. You can either do Control Backspace with black set as your background layer, or you can go to I think Edit and Fill and choose black. From there, head up to Filter, Noise, Add Noise, make sure Monochromatic is selected and just turn it up to sort of a reasonable amount. Something like this will do. At the moment, as you can see, it's very digital. you can see all the pixels very, very clearly, and that's not really authentic looking grain. So the easy fix to that is just to blur it ever so slightly. Again, Gaussian blur. Bring this down very, very slightly, so you just ever so slightly blur it to look a little bit more natural. Set the blending mode to multiply and bring this right the way down so you've just got a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of texture to the image. If I zoom in here, hopefully you can see on the compressed YouTube video, if I turn it off, very flat, turn it on, a little bit of texture. And that's pretty much it. After this, if you want to go the extra mile, you can start adding in lighting effects. This is just a case of creating a new layer, getting yourself a large brush and kind of just clicking. Like maybe if you want some lighting, set the color to white, click, change the blending mode to something like soft light or whatever, and just play around. Something that I like to do, especially when you sort of have like beams going on in the background, you want to create some atmosphere, is to change the color to something like a, I don't know, like a blue. Click, and then change this to screen, and it kind of has that sort of like there's something going on in the background. You have a little bit of atmosphere. So yeah, that's pretty much it, honestly. If I bring in the original now, you can see there's quite a big difference here between flat and very, very punchy. I feel like if I wanted to go and refine it some more, then you would head back and change your levels. At the moment, it's maybe looking just a little bit flat compared to what they tend to do. But yeah, I mean, on the whole, it's pretty close to what Toei have been doing. So I hope that helps. Again, applying this to a video in After Effects is so simple if you know how to use that program. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section below. And of course, I will see you next time.